Hey there, welcome to Studio 5. We've got a power-packed episode ahead. We're going to begin with a film where survival is the main objective for a family surrounded by wildfire. Then we're sitting down with a Christian rapper who shares the near-death experience he had that shaped his marriage and his life. And then we've got a new children's book from a New York Times best-selling author. All three of those stories are coming up, and we're counting down the top 5 stories in the world of uplifting entertainment. We're going to begin there with number 5.
At number 5.
Just being able to be out there with my teammates, have my family in the stands, play again with, everybody on the team. That just gives me confidence, just feeds me like positive energy, positive everything all week long. Just to get out there and play with everybody again felt amazing.
Damar Hamlin makes his long-awaited return to the NFL's regular season since suffering cardiac arrest on the field in January.
I think it was more so about proving something to myself than anything else. Just showing myself that I have the courage, I got the strength, I got the pride, everything, all of those words, in me to be able to go through something so traumatic. And be able to come back from it and still to be able to still do what I love at the highest level in the world is amazing.
At number 4.
Late night is back, and so are the shenanigans.
A late-night sign the Hollywood writers' strike is over.
While all 3 hosts recap the past 5 months, some of them, of course, had similar takeaways.
We've been gone so long, The Bachelor is now a grandfather.
We were off the air for so long, The Bachelor went from this to this.
Well, now that we have jump-started the countdown, we're going to turn to a film inspired by real-life events. A family with a home in the woods facing the ultimate uncertainty when they're surrounded by a raging wildfire. It's a fight to survive and a desperate need for not just one miracle, but a series of them.
Here they come. Your son's got one hell of a pair of lungs on him.
Got homework? How much?
Let's grab a burger and fries.
Come on.
Hey, baby.
What are we gonna do when the baby comes? How are we gonna pay for it?
We made do before, we'll make do again. Give it a shot.
Heavy ash raining down for miles.
That's close. Should we be worried?
You serve as a director and actor in this project. How did you come to this story?
Well, the script was sent to me, and I thought it was a very poignant story with all the fires and the news, and so I signed on to do it as the lead actor. And then about while we were filming, I was working with the director really well, and everything was very collaborative. And then the director ended up getting COVID while we were filming. We were too far out at sea to go back to port.
Wow.
With his blessing, he asked me to take over.
What do we do now?
We wait.
We pray.
It's based on an amalgamation of different stories, but all on true events. So, when you see these horrific things in the news about these fires, it's hard to wrap your head around or imagine what it could actually be like. It's gonna be okay.
Mom, Dad?
Oh my God.
Well, my hope is that you can watch this and feel like this could be your family. You become part of this family's journey. And maybe we can give pause and come together as a community and figure out what to do to curtail these fires that are so prominent in the news these days. I don't know how, but I do know when there's a will, there's a way. And I do believe that we've come together and we've come together to beat greater odds. So there has to be a way for us to be able to come together and solve this issue. And then other takeaways, of course, are, having faith in a higher power to get you through things, and family. When you meet my character, he's saddled with stress. He's got a new company that he started, a construction company. He's got a pregnant wife, a new baby on the way, a kid in college, a son in college who he's not sure how he's going to pay for that, and a sick dad. And he feels like this, family that lives paycheck to paycheck, and they're just trying to make ends meet. and then they go on this journey together, and they go through this harrowing experience. And I think what my character ends up with at the end of this journey is that there's nothing that his family can't get through. And so it's a good family film. I think you look at that family and you say, that family looks familiar to me, because everyone who has family, can see a part of themselves in it.
We're gonna be all right. Okay, we're gonna call out. We're gonna be all right.
Dear Lord, please guide and protect us through this night, please, Lord.
One of the beautiful things to see are the constant turning to prayer in really severe crisis moments. How important do you think that was?
It was definitely important. I think, this is a family that has faith. They believe in a higher source, a higher power. They're church-going people, and I think that touching upon that, is important. Look, I think spirituality is very important. At every corner, when the family thinks they might be okay and some other disaster strikes and their journey just gets harder, it's another burden to carry, and they can't carry it alone. And they continuously look towards a higher power and have faith. And that's one of the reasons why my character says we're gonna be okay. How do you know? Because I'm your dad and I say so, because he knows. He has the faith, and he has that strength within to carry him through. And that's a beautiful message.
Where am I supposed to tell these people to go?
We can't save everybody. I'm gonna do whatever it takes to get my family out alive.
On Fire is in theaters now. Be sure to check your local listings to find out where you can find it.
Still to come, he has a lyrical prowess and a passion for Jesus.
I'm gonna be standing in the street, bringing a heat, banging a beat. I'm confident, I'm gonna be slamming a G, rapping in the middle of the West, I'm wild with it.
Rapper Canon shares his musical journey and recalls the night he nearly lost his life.
I thought to save the individual in that car, in that truck, and my hope was to pull him out and do so. In fear and being afraid of what could happen in the midst of the moment, I ended up falling off a 30-foot highway.
At number 3.
It's giving off some kind of energy.
Paw Patrol, the mighty movie, was top dog at the weekend box office. $23 million in ticket sales, say studio estimates. From Paramount Pictures and Spin Master, it's a sequel to the 2021 Paw Patrol movie, adapted from the Nickelodeon TV series.
At number 2.
When we first started traveling and singing, it was really hard.
We usually do about 86 shows a year. Homeschooling on the road is a bear.
It can be challenging.
A Studio 5 first look at Home by Sunday, a film following the life and music of Casting Crowns, and coming to theaters November 30th.
Hearing these songs and their lives are being impacted, then you start getting a picture that this is a little bigger than we thought.
We would always come home at the end of it, and we'd walk into our church, and the middle school kid would say, "Oh, hey, the fame and people being excited about you is really a bit of an illusion." When the music world came to us, I was like, I'm a youth pastor, and I want to stay a youth pastor.
Well, that's going to leave us with just one more story to share in this week's countdown. We'll get to it in just a moment. We have a special guest this week, hip-hop artist Canon. He toured with Lecrae and he was featured on his album. And as a solo artist, Canon landed spots on the Billboard top charts for rappers. Let's sample his sound before we begin our conversation.
Nobody's taking nothing I don't build from beginning. Don't care if I owned it, I rented. If God gave it to me, I'ma find a way to flip it. I ain't got no time for no critics. If they ain't trying to help you build, they don't get no energy. I don't waste time on no enemies. God bless them like I'm tapping a bottle of Hennessy. This time I'm going for it. I was always in my head, pop been known for it. In the end, you looking like your decisions, what you gotta show for.
So we are celebrating 50 years of hip-hop, if you will. I'll ask you a question familiar in the industry. When did you fall in love with hip-hop?
So I fell in love with hip-hop the moment I heard it. Hip-hop is a reflection of the culture that it comes from, the reflection of the community, of the people that make the music. And so I come from the same culture, the same community. I began to understand that hip-hop is just a voice of the community. And when I understood that, I automatically knew I was qualified because I was part of the community. And so I just utilized my story to, you know, just to reach people, but I utilized the tool of hip hop to reach people as well.
Yeah, I ain't lying, I might go dumbo. Super sick of what your ears flapping like a Dumbo.
But my message goes beyond just my color, my skin color, my race. I believe that truth is universal, especially gospel truth is universal. And so my hope is that people are set free because of my music. I hope that people are heard, seen. I'm a product of my environment, but I'm a product of God's grace within my environment. So I want people to feel that and embrace that when they get a chance to listen to my music.
I'm gonna be standing in the street, bringing the heat, banging the beat. I'm confident. I've been to be flaming the G, rapping in the middle of the West. I'm wild with it. I'm a grind by, get it means I gotta be, get it ready for the haters off. And I'm the venom ripping instrumentals, beware because.
What makes you use your music to speak out against injustice? Why do you do that?
Yeah, because it could be me. You know, when I think about George Floyd, Trayvon Martin, Breonna Taylor, any of them could have been me. And so you understand that meant things have to change, not just for your communal context, but things have to change for others. And so I hope that music can be a tool, resourceful, to allow people to say, you know what, I see where that young man is coming from. This is a reflection of his pain.
I'ma get mine, taking my time, yeah. I'ma tell me nothing be the fair, but try, we gon' be fine, yeah.
I want people to be able to heal from that pain. And to do that, we have to talk about that pain.
Better pull up, got a problem with me. It's a clubhouse. Watch you while on your feet, I was strong pop.
I love hip hop being a tool. I love it being an instrument. And I'm just trying to string them strings, those strings every time that God allows me to. So it's been a blessing.
Yeah, they said knock, knock, loose cannon. Yeah, but what it's on is crazy. Yeah, it's crazy.
And you can check out Canon's latest album by going to getthecanon.com. We have to take a break right here, but before we do, I want to share this week's story and pictures. Here's this week's Studio 5 snapshot. The Journey to Bethlehem. It's the latest project and directorial debut from songwriter Adam Anders, who's worked on well-known musical projects like Glee and Rock of Ages. It's the story of the birth of Jesus and stars Fiona Palomo as Mary. Antonio Banderas plays Herod. Rapper Lecrae plays Angel Gabriel. And for King and Country's Joel Smallbone also has a role. This photographic look is this week's Studio 5 snapshot before the film hits theaters November 10th. Still ahead.
It's really stories of young lives and how a challenge is faced, a decision is made.
Best-selling author Raymond Arroyo shares a new chapter of his Turnabout Tales.
It's a story of mercy and forgiveness.
Studio 5 looks at the magnificent mischief of Tad Lincoln. Welcome back to Studio 5. Award-winning journalist and best-selling author Raymond Arroyo is releasing the second installment of his Turnabout Tale series with a look at the magnificent mischief of Tad Lincoln. He sat down with Studio 5 for a look at how this tale will inspire young readers. So, this is the latest installment in the Turnabout Tales?
It is indeed. And you know, my first book was about Thomas Edison and
Right.
how a mother saved Thomas Edison. This is the magnificent mischief of Tad Lincoln, and it's about how a son saves his father at the darkest point in his life. For years, Ephraim, I covered the White House turkey part. And I often wondered, where did this come from? What's the origin of this thing? Well, I started digging back, and it is related to Tad Lincoln and Abraham Lincoln. And what I discovered, more importantly, was the story of a father and a son, and how the importance of a child in the life of not only a family, but how it can shape a nation. And look, Tad Lincoln was nothing special on the surface. He had a cleft palate. He was hard to understand, probably had learning disabilities. But to his father, to his family, he was everything.
What would you say, and I don't want you to give up too much, but what would you say is the turnabout or turning point?
Turnabout Tales is really stories of young lives and how a challenge is faced, a decision is made, and all of history turns. And in this case, Tad Lincoln loses his brother Willie and he's left alone in the White House. And it's really he and his father finding this bond. And it is that decision, not only to continue to love and forgive, which is really the heart of this story. It's a story of mercy and forgiveness, and how I didn't realize, and I'll bet most of your listeners and viewers didn't, Abraham Lincoln is the man who created Thanksgiving as a national holiday. And he says in that proclamation, may the hand of Almighty God heal us as a nation, because he remembers mercy. He remembers mercy. And really, Abraham Lincoln embodied that in his life. Tad Lincoln reminded him of it, and I think in an interesting way taught him about mercy when he most needed it. And Thanksgiving is a season of mercy. And I think this book is such a great way to introduce children, young people, not only to what this holiday was meant to do and be, but to an incredible historical figure of not only Abraham Lincoln, but his son Tad Lincoln, and the power of a child just having fun and being a child in that family and for the nation.
In doing this, and now we approach yet another Thanksgiving, how will this change this season for you?
Well, for me, it reminds me at a time when we're so divided, Ephraim, politically, culturally, and otherwise. This was a time that the Lincolns inhabited when you had a civil war, a full-blown civil war underway. And Lincoln had the foresight to understand we needed a moment of national calm, of coming together in prayer to thank God. And I wrote something down. He wrote this. He said he hoped that this making Thanksgiving a national holiday would heal the wounds of the nation to the full enjoyment of peace, harmony, tranquility, and union. And boy, if we don't need that now. So I hope that this book is a reminder of what Thanksgiving can be and should be, not only in 1863, but today.
The Magnificent Mischief of Tad Lincoln is available now. You should read it to your children as we approach this Thanksgiving holiday, and it's a perfect stocking stuffer just in time for the holidays. You can purchase it wherever you get your books. Well, on that, we have made it to the final story in this week's countdown of the best stories in uplifting entertainment. Here's number one. At number one.
Every time God allows me to release a book, he tells me to do something very specific. He says, I want you to preach the book without preaching the book.
A new series of sermons and a new book from the pastor of Tulsa, Oklahoma's Transformation Church, Michael Todd. So, Damaged but Not Destroyed. Third book for someone who didn't like English. And as I learned in the book, was it like nutrition?
Yeah, nutrition class in junior in Tulsa Community College took me out. That was the end of my higher education. But it really is the grace of God that I am here today sharing about the things that I've been through and how God can take all damage and he can turn it into something that pushes you into destiny. See, most people think my damage started here.
Oklahoma pastor.
But in reality, my damage started right here. The real fight is not just the enemy.
Let me dive right into Pastor Michael Todd's resume. Premarital sex, porn addiction, criminal record. We learn all of this in the book.
You learn all of this in the first 2 chapters.
I know.
I just believe that the Bible says we overcome by the blood of the Lamb. That's what Jesus does. And the words of our own testimonies. And too many people in the body of Christ, I believe right now, are very edited with the words of their testimony. And I think that we lose the power to overcome and help other people overcome. It really is what it is until God steps in.
Welcome back to Studio 5. Music helps us to bring you this show every week, and this week's soundtrack comes from P.J. Morton and poet Sonny Patterson. Take a listen and you'll hear why Don't Let Go is what's playing in my ear this week. It's a Katrina remembrance, looking back at how the storm impacted the New Orleans area some 15 years ago.
See, there's a reason you're still standing after all you've seen. But don't you ever let go. Don't let go. Don't let go.
On that musical note and Katrina remembrance, we are just about out of time for this week's edition of Studio 5. So let's take a moment and look ahead to see what's on next week's rundown.
I wonder if I might trouble you for a hot meal and a hitch for my horse.
My husband takes great delight in my ministering to random desperados.
Birthright Outlaw. It's a new Western, and we have an exclusive Studio 5 first look through the eyes of its star, Lucas Black.
It's a Western, lot of grit, a lot of real raw material. My goal, and I think Aaron's goal, was to create some content that would be more appealing to men.
See this and more on the next Studio 5.
And be sure to join us for that story and so much more come next week. This week we've got time for just one more thing. We want to give that to Canon.
What you know about your life, passing by, right before your eyes, right before your eyes.
I want to take you back to a night a concert ends, you leave, it is dark.
Yeah.
And you essentially jumped 30 feet off a bridge unintentionally. Yeah. What happened?
Yeah, so after a show, you know, typically you go out to eat, and that's what we were on our way doing. But we saw this truck flipped over on the highway, and this is in the middle of the night. And so my knee-jerk reaction, for some reason, I got this Messiah complex. But I thought to save the individual in that car. Things didn't turn out the way we thought they would. And so in fear and being afraid of what could happen in the midst of the moment, I ended up falling off a 30-foot highway. And, you know, next thing you know, I'm in the hospital.
Woke up on my deathbed, I'm stretched wide on that stretcher. Got a wife at home, plus company your own, plus labor known, and that's pressure.
God was faithful. I landed in a place where I only could land, a small patch of grass. And, you know, I was able to, you know, get back my bearings to some point, but I still had to go through various surgeries. My wife was alongside of me. You know, she helped me recover.
You guys only married 3 weeks at the time.
Yeah, it just happened, you know. And, you know, talk about, you know, preparing with premarital counseling. You know, there was no preparation for that. There was no way you could prepare for a 30-foot fall in that regard. But we had to lean on God. That's all we had.
Man, I got that trait super bad at me. Now I can finally breathe. I'm struggling to breathe, better call the doctor. How many times I gotta say stop to stop you?
God's fingerprint was on me. His hand was on me. And that's how I'm still here.
See, I gotta be grateful. See, I gotta be grateful.
And Canon, thank you so much. That's a great final word for this edition of Studio 5 and this week's look at uplifting entertainment. Until next time, make time to uplift someone around you, and then come back. See where Studio 5 takes you next week. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching.